Eamon really brought the fan service on this episode of House of the Dragon. So, basically, to do a quick review of the latest episode, we start off with everybody run around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to find blood and cheese. And they find blood and cheese very quickly this episode. Like I didn't really expect that. Like they find them like it was nothing, like nanosecond. I thought it would be like, maybe they never find them or they only find blood. No, they find both of them. Although with cheese, it was more of a coincidence. They kind of just like hang all the rat catchers, and he just happened to be one of them. But Blood, he gets tracked down by the Clubfoot. Clubfoot, he's kind of screwed. Like, the Clubfoot is on your tail, you're kind of cooked. He's kind of like Littlefinger and Varys put together. And he's probably a green seer, so, basically it means he's like the three-eyed raven. So, Blood is basically screwed. So, he gets caught, and he's in the dungeon. We'll get into more of that in a second. So then, Kristen Cole, we see a little bit of him this episode. He basically sort of acknowledges that he shouldn't have been banging the queen. He should have been protecting the prince. He's, really disappointed himself. And we start to feel a little bit sorry for him, but then we don't because he basically decides to take out his anger on one of the twin night guys, one of the Eric twins, and basically sends him on this suicide mission to go kill Rhaenyra disguised as his twin. And for some reason, this guy agrees to it, which is pretty crazy, because he basically gets guilt tripped by Cole, like, where were you that night? He basically tells him, like, where were you? You should have been guarding it. Meanwhile, it was Cole's job. But somehow, like, in the end, and he even points this out to him. He's like, well, Cole, weren't you supposed to be guarding the prince? But for some reason, he still feels guilty and agrees to Cole's suicide mission. I don't know. It's pretty silly. To send one of your best knights on a suicide mission. Now, meanwhile, over at Dragonstone, they get the news of the child that was killed, Aegon's heir, and everybody's just shocked, and the fact that Rhaenyra is being blamed for it because Otto decided to do a state funeral and basically say this is Rhaenyra's doing to try to politically capitalize on the death of the heir, Aegon's heir. And Daemon has this very sus look the whole time, like he's the only one that knows what happened. So Rhaenyra confronts him and it turns into a big fight. Rhaenyra's really pissed and he ends up leaving and going to Harrenhal. So that's, pretty much it for Daemon this episode. We really don't see too much of Daemon out after that fight. And, we do get to see his dragon, which is really cool, which honestly, I think Daemon has the coolest dragon. Like, it's not the biggest, but I'll take the Bloodworm dragon over Vhagar in terms of aesthetic. It just looks way cooler, even though it's not the biggest dragon. So then, we got the two dummies, Kristen Cole and King Aegon, confronting Sir Otto. And I never really liked Sir Otto or felt that Sir Otto was relatable, but in this scene, you kind of feel relatable to him because he's like kind of with the audience of like, this is the dumbest plan ever. Like, you and Kristen Cole have this plan of sending, well, really it was Kristen Cole's plan. He tells Aegon is an idiot, so he's like, oh, that's a good plan. Let's go send one of our best knights on a suicide mission where he has a 98% chance of failure. So, they basically tell Sir Otto this. Sir Otto's like, God help us. But Sir Otto was already pissed because they killed all the rat catchers just to kill cheese. And he's pissed about that because a lot of those guys were just regular guys. They were the working men that they needed on their side for his claim to the throne. That was the whole point of having the state funeral for his son, was to get the people on their side. And he basically undid that by killing the rat catchers. So Sir Otto was originally pissed about that, but then they tell him this plan. He gets really, really pissed. And he even says that his father was right about him and that he shouldn't have been king. And that he basically outright tells him that they schemed to put him on the throne against his father's wishes. So now Aegon, he knows that he is a pretender, that he's not the legit king. Now, is that going to have any sort of, effect on him? Probably not. He's too deep down. We're too far along the road now, but that was very interesting. I didn't really expect that. And then he basically tells Sir Otto, give up your pin. I'm making Kristen Cole now hand of the king, because he had this brilliant plan. He's a man of action for sending, one of my Kingsguard on a suicide mission, which is just so crazy because, like, I can understand, like, if the mission was a success, maybe making Sir Kristen Cole hand of the king, but, like, making him hand of the king before the mission's even complete, before you even know the status of the mission, and the mission has a 98% chance of failure. That's pretty crazy. So, but, I think a lot of it was just he was really pissed at Serato. He's tired of Serato telling him what to do. He's tired of his grandpa telling him what to do. And, a lot of this have to do with, if you remember the last episode, the Clubfoot basically manipulated the king and basically told Aegon, like, you shouldn't listen to your father. I mean, you shouldn't listen to your grandfather. He was your father's hand of the king. He's not yours necessarily. You don't need to listen to him. So a lot of it has to do with the Clubfoot kind of being that agent of chaos, like Littlefinger planted the seed in Aegon to basically go against Sir Otto. But basically a bunch of other stuff happened after that, like the rat catcher thing and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, Sir Otto leaves and he ends up going home to the Old Town. And we don't really know what's going to happen there, or we don't really see him go, but I'm assuming he's going to Old Town. So, back to Dragonstone and Criston Cole's plan. So Criston Cole, he sent one of the Eric twins to go kill Rhaenyra. We see Rhaenyra meeting with the not-so-common Whore of Whispers, and she's basically telling, Rhaenyra, hey, Daemon said if I helped him out, I'd be free. And, I'm not a traitor. I explained to Daemon that I was just doing everything for money. I didn't really want to help Sir Otto or anything, put Aegon on the throne. It was all for money. Rhaenyra, she ends up honoring that. She's skeptical, but she honors it. She lets her go. And when she's on her way out of Dragonstone, she notices one of the Eric brothers. And it looks like she goes to tell somebody. We don't get to see it's off screen who she goes to tell, but definitely I think it's part of what saves Rhaenyra later on, which is very interesting. So then, we get the fight where one of the Eric brothers sneaks in, and he does almost kill Rhaenyra. Like, he's actually pretty close. So Criston Cole's dumbass plan actually almost succeeded if it wasn't for basically the other brother running in at the right time, which is probably because the not-so-common, Lady of the Night was able to tell him what was going on. Or, maybe, just maybe it was great timing. I don't know. So this fight apparently was a legendary fight, like in the books. Like, it's considered one of the greatest fights in all of the history of Westeros. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would put the fight up there with the Clegane Ball. Clegane Ball. I know, man, I can't talk. I don't think I would put the fight up there with the Hound in the Mountain. Even though, I have a lot of problems with Season 8, but that fight was, like, really, really epic. This fight was good. It was a good fight, but is it one of the best fights in all of the history of, like, Westeros? I'm not sure. I think in the book it was probably better, but well, I say probably because I haven't read the book yet. But I'm pretty sure in the books, from what I've heard, the fight is way more epic. But they did a decent job. It was a decent fight. It's not a bad fight. It's a I would say above average fight. It's good. So basically, the one that loses is the one that was working for Aegon. That's how it basically ends. Spoilers. So after that, he get the one that the Eric that was working for Aegon, he gets killed by his brother. Then the Eric that was working for Rhaenyra, he basically just kills himself because he couldn't live with himself after killing his brother. It was just like they came into the world together. They wanted to leave together, kind of like Cersei and Jaime, very similar to that. So that's how basically the episode ends. Now we did get some other scenes, like we got to see the king basically whack blood with like some sort of weapon, just like some sort of axe or something like that. I kind of wish we got to see more of that. Like, I wanted to see more of Aegon torturing blood. We get to see so much of Aegon's anger, and we get to see Aegon really transform into this uncontrollable, like, mad king now that his son is dead, but we don't get to see him fully torture blood. Like, hopefully we get more of that, but I'm not sure. We only got like one little scene here, so I don't have much hope for the future episodes on that. So that's kind of disappointing. I wanted to see him torture blood more. I wanted to see him use some of the tools that the Clubfoot gave him to like really torture blood, but I guess we won't get to see that, unfortunately. And then Helaena. Helaena, the actress that plays Helaena, she looks very, very good this episode. Like, even in this scene where she's crying, she looked gorgeous. She was stunning this episode. And, even at the funeral, she looked great. there's a great scene where she's at the funeral and, she's just freaking the hell out at all of the small folk that are like trying to get really close to her and touch her. It's like a crazy like paparazzi type of situation because the carriage gets stuck. And that whole scene of the state funeral is just, or whatever, the funeral of the prince is so weird because like they stitched the little baby's head on his body. It's a very strange scene. And, but again, Sir Otto did it basically to try to get the people on their side. And then with Aemon, as I said at the beginning of this, we get to find out stuff about Aemon that we never really knew before. Like apparently Aemon has some serious mommy issues. He's like cradled in this Lady of the Night's arms at the same tavern, like sex worker dungeon that Daemon used to go to. And he's just like cradled in this lady's arms. She's like the madam of the place or whatever. And he tells her that he regrets killing Luke and that he was just bullied by them as a kid and yada, yada, yada. And, we get to see this whole like soft side of him. Meanwhile, the dude is like completely naked, laid out like this. I can't even show it. And I mean, this looks pretty much accurate. This is pretty much what it looks like. And it's like, dude, you may have the biggest drag. You may be a great swordsman. You need to go to the gym. You need to get some gains. Cause like, you looking like Skeletor, bro. Like this is crazy. So, Aemon, we get to see a little bit of a softer side of Aemon, which is very interesting. And it's also interesting that this lady, who's just this common folk, is the one person he tells that he actually regrets killing Luke. Like, he didn't even tell his mom he regretted killing Luke, but he tells this lady, this one random lady who's probably going to tell everybody that he regrets killing Luke, which is very interesting. And that's also why the lady, the not-so-common whore, why she said she was so skilled as a master of whispers, because she would sleep with these guys in this tavern, like Daemon, get their secrets, and then, tell the people who are willing to pay. And I mean, this lady might do that here. Like, she might take what everything Aemon is saying and go sell the information for a price. Go sell it to Daemon. Go sell it to the blacks. We don't really know. But yeah, I didn't really expect this from Aemon. Like, again, I read the book, so I've read some of the book, but now I haven't got to this part. Like, this is crazy that I didn't know Aemon was like really big with the mommy issues. It's just really, really crazy stuff. But yeah, this is my long-winded review of the latest episode. I wanted to get this out earlier, but didn't really have time. There's some construction going on outside my window. But yeah, wherever you are, have a fantastic day. And looks like the next episode, we're going to finally get some battles. So yeah, hypers, we're going to get that. But yeah, don't forget to like. It's greatly appreciated. And peace out. And also don't forget to follow.